Beitzah, second chapter, Mishnah Aleph. Mishnatenu dana beinyan Eruv tavshilin. Our Mishnah is going to deal with the concept of Eruv tavshilin. We're going to see what it means. וכבר הבנו פרטים בעניין זה פתיחת למסכתנו. We already discussed some details about it in the beginning, in the introduction. So let's see what happens. Yom Tov. So this is a holiday. שחל להיות ערב Shabbat. That happened to be on a Friday. So the holiday happens to be on a Friday.
So you got Yom Tov and Shabbos together.
Yeah, but not Shabbos and Yom Tov together. It's Yom Tov before Shabbos, not Shabbos before Yom Tov.
Oh.
Yom Tov before Shabbos.
Yom Tov and then after Shabbos.
That's it. So Yom Tov happens before Shabbos. So this is the ruling. לא יבשל אדם בתחילה מיום טוב לשבס. A person shouldn't cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Remember, what's the idea with cooking on Yom Tov? You're allowed to cook for Yom Tov, but they don't want you to start. They don't want you to start cooking for the whole week. Since you're allowed to cook, the wife might say, you know what, it's a good day. I might just cook for a whole week or something like this. Yeah, exactly. You're going to use the hater not to have enjoyment of Yom Tov. So the sages wanted to prevent you from to actually enjoy the Yom Tov, not to use it as a work day. Okay. Yeah. So they said we cannot let you cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Why? Because if we let you cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos, you're thinking in your mind you're allowed to cook from Yom Tov to another day. You're going to think you're also allowed to cook for Yom Tov. So in your mind, if I can cook for another day, I can also cook for a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday. So this is why they say, even Yom Tov to Shabbos, we're going to prevent you from doing it. So that you remember that on Yom Tov you do Yom Tov stuff. כלומר, לא תהיה תחילת בישולו מיום טוב לשם Shabbos. In other words, you're not allowed to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbos itself. אבל מבשל הוא ליום טוב. In other words, you're allowed to cook for the Yom Tov itself. If you want to cook for the Yom Tov, you want to make a fancy meal, it takes you 20 hours, I don't care. As long as, because it's for the enjoyment of Yom Tov, that's okay. But don't start making fancy meals and freezing it in the, I don't know, there's no refrigeration there, but you know what I'm talking about. עיקר בשלו יהיה לשם יום טוב. The main thing would be לשם יום טוב. ואם מותיר, and if you have extra, well, you cooked for a big meal and you have a little bit extra, ממה שבישל ליום טוב הותיר לשבת, היינו שהנותר יאכל בשבת, so you're allowed to, as long as you didn't trick anybody. You cooked for Yom Tov, you have a little bit over, you're allowed to do fish, eat it on Shabbos. ועושה תבשיל, so since you're not allowed to cook on Yom Tov to Shabbos, in other words, to plan the cooking from Yom Tov to Shabbos, what do you say? עושה תבשיל מערב יום טוב. So you tell you should start cooking on a Thursday, not on a Friday. On the Thursday before, start cooking for Shabbos. עושה תבשיל בערב יום טוב. כלומר, so the Chachamim says, תקנת Chachamim, the sages says, actually we cannot prevent you from cooking on Shabbos. We cannot prevent you halachically from doing it all day. God permits it. But we know what's going, human nature, what you're going to start doing. So we're going to tell you, have in mind. So on Thursday, do what? תקנת חכמים היא שיהיה אדם עושה תבשיל מערב יום טוב לצורך שבס. On Thursday, make one food so that you'll know that you're not allowed to cook for Yom Tov to Shabbos. It's going to be in your mind. You're not going to do it. וסומך עליו לשבס. And then you're going to rely on that cooked food for Shabbos. ועל סמך תבשיל זה שעשו מערב יום טוב, and because of this cooked food that you made before Yom Tov, הוא מוסיף לבשל ביום טוב לצורך שבת. We're going to permit you to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbos also. You know, because
what I'm doing.
Yeah, because it's you made a statement beforehand. In other words, Yom Tov is important for you. You know that you're not supposed to cook on Yom Tov for no reason. That it reminds you that Yom Tov is an important day. You're not just supposed to cook on it for another day. תבשיל זה נקרא עירובי תבשילין. This תבשיל is called Eruv tavshilin. כלומר, which means שמערבבים, that you mix around בערב יום טוב, before יום טוב, את התבשילים של יום טוב ושל שבת, לעשותם כאחד. You're saying, all this is one big group that we're doing. both Yom Tov and Shabbos. הרייבד ויהיה בפתיחה למסכתנו. Okay. יש מבארים בגמרא, there are those who explain the Gemara, טעם התקנה של עירוב תבשילין. And even the takana of Eruv tavshilin, you can see there's many ways to think about it. In other words, what are you trying to protect? Yom Tov or Shabbos? Some say you're trying to protect Shabbos, some say you're trying to protect Yom Tov. You're going to see. So יש מבארים בגמרא, טעם התקנה של עירוב תבשילין משום כבוד Shabbos. Some say the reason why we are giving you this Eruv tavshilin has got nothing to do with Yom Tov. It's not that you might cook too much on Yom Tov. It's because we are not going to respect Shabbos enough. It says, what does it mean? כדי שיברור מנה יפה לשבת ומנה יפה ליום טוב. It says, we're afraid it's Yom Tov. You're going to come celebrating Yom Tov. By the time Shabbos is going to come in, you're going to have 2 9 crackers. Nothing is left. Yeah, exactly. So in order so you don't eat the leftovers, we want you to remind you, make it cooked now, cook nice cooked food for Shabbos. שעל ידי שמתחיל בהכנת שבת מערב יום טוב, in other words, you're preparing for Shabbos from before יום טוב, לא ישכח את השבת מחימת טרידת יום טוב. You're not going to forget Shabbos because you're so busy with יום טוב. ויכין מנה יפה גם לשבת. And you're going to prepare a good meal also for Shabbos. So exactly the opposite of what we think, according to that. But then there's those who do it like we said. Let's see. ויש מבארים הטעם. And there are those who explain the reason Mishum kvod Yom Tov. No, it's the opposite. It's because you want to honor the Yom Tov. How? כדי שאומרים, אין אופים מבשים תחילה מיום טוב לשבס. Because they're going to say, we don't cook and bake in the beginning from יום טוב לשבת, קל וחומר שאסור לגמרי להפות ולבשל מיום טוב לחול. So people are going to know not to use יום טוב as a cooking opportunity. Let's call it. ויש הסמכו לעירובי התבשילין על הכתוב, and there are those who learned the whole thing of עירובי תבשילין. It says, את אשר תאפו אפו, ואת אשר תבשלו בשלו. Whatever you bake, bake. Whatever you cook, cook. שהיה לו לומר, היום אפו ובשלו. It says, it should say, today you should cook and bake. אלא מכאן רמז ליום טוב שחל להיות בערב שבת. From over there we learned, it's a hint. What happened if יום טוב happens before Shabbat, שאין אופים בו אלא על האיפוי מערב יום טוב, ואין מבשלים בו אלא על המבושל מערב יום טוב. It means you only have allowed to cook if you cooked before. You're only allowed to bake if you baked before. Okay, so up to here we understand now Eruv tavshilin. Whether it was for the honor of Shabbos, whether it is for the honor of Yom Tov. 2 opinions. Beit Shammai says, how much do you have to cook before? Let's discuss. You've said you have to cook, but how much? So Beit Shammai says, Shnei tavshilim. It has to be a main dish and a side dish. You cannot just have, it cannot be very symbolic. Yeah? It can be a little bit symbolic, but you have to have
tomato and cucumber.
Yeah, it has to be a meal. It has to be a meal. Yeah, something that you would eat, that a normal person would eat. צריך לעשות מערב יום טוב לשם עירובי תבשילים. You need to make ערב יום טוב. You have to make a meal, a dish. Somebody would eat it. Normal. ובית הלל אומרים, בית הלל says, no, you don't need to. תבשיל אחד. It says this is just for you to remember that you're not allowed to do it. So it's just a symbolic thing. So if it's just a symbolic thing, you don't need to have a whole meal, 2 tavshilin, 2 kind of foods. 1 food is enough, because by 1 food you're showing you already remember. So you can prevent the problem. יש מעברים טעם מחלוקותם שבית שמאי סובים. Oh, he's going to explain the reasoning. There are those who say the reason what they are arguing, that בית שמאי hold, הואיל ודרך בני אדם לתקן שבת יותר מתבשיל אחד. It says usually when you have a meal, you have a main dish and a side dish. אם לא הכין מערב יום טוב לתבשיל אחד, if you only prepared the side dish, אין נכר בדבר כלל שלצורך שבת נעשה. You cannot see that it's done for שבת. ובית הלל סוברים, הוא מעיל מכל מקום סומכים על התבשיל אחד אף בשבת, דיינו לו בתבשיל אחד לשם עירוב תבשילים. It says, since in any place, if you stuck and this is only you eat, this is good enough. ושווים בית שמאי ובית הלל, בית שמאי ובית הלל, oh, this is a good one. So it says, what happens, there was a kind of food that they used to have over there. I don't know, today we don't have it. They used to have like a pie, like they make a pie with egg with eggs and fish. Used to mix up eggs and fish and cook it. So the question is, do you have two dishes over here or one dish? Because it comes up as one dish.
Because it's made from two things.
Yeah, it's made of two things. You have egg and fish. So, ושווין בית שמאי ובית הלל, and both בית שמאי and בית הלל agree, בדג וביצה אליו, that they used to make this dish with fish and egg, שהיו תחים ביצה על הדג שצולים אותו, that they used to they put the egg on the fish, yeah. שם שני תבשילים, they all admit this is considered to be two. So in other words, you're good if you do this one. Even according to בית שמאי, even though it's one food, it's שנחשבים כשני תבשילים. ואף לדעת בית שמאי סומך עליהם לשבת. And even Shammai says, it looks like, like we have schnitzel with פירורי לחם. Yeah, exactly. So it says, it's considered to be two, because you have bread and schnitzel. This is another interesting part. אכל אותו תבשיל שניח לשם ערב תבשילין. So you're supposed to keep this tavshil for Shabbat and then eat it on Shabbat. What happened? Like me, all the time it happens sometimes. I don't know where it is. I ate it. I did something with it. Nobody knows where it is. Your son ate it. Your daughter ate it. Your wife ate it. The dog ate it. What happens then? So then what do you do then? You ate that food that you put aside for Eruv tavshilin, or that you got lost before you started cooking on Yom Tov for Shabbos. Yeah? In other words, it's Yom Tov now, you want to cook for Shabbos, and you ask your wife, hey, we did Eruv tavshilin, where's the food that we did Eruv tavshilin that we can add to it now? She says, I don't know, we had it yesterday by mistake. So the question is, are you allowed now to cook for Shabbos? Is she allowed to cook for Shabbos? You don't need to eat it. You don't need to eat it. It needs to be available for eating at the time she cooks for Shabbos. It needs to be available for eating at the time you cook for Shabbos. So he says, so if such a thing happen, lo yevashev alav betchila. You shouldn't cook. Not allowed to cook now. You don't have Eruv tavshilin. What are you cooking for? Yeah? אסור לו לבשל ביום טוב לשבס. Since you didn't prepare beforehand, or prepared and it's lost, now you're not allowed to cook for Shabbos. Why? שאין לו על מה לסמוך, because you're not joining it to anything else. In other words, it's a severe thing, Eruv tavshilin. Now you can't cook. בגמרא אמרו, in the Gemara says, שאם התחיל לבשל קודם שנאכל או עבד עירובו, that's as long as you didn't cook before it. Like if it was available and you started cooking and then it got lost, the dog ate it or whatever, הרי הוא גומר מה שהתחיל. You're allowed to complete it, but it needs to be available for you in order to start the cooking process. Okay? ואם שייר ממנו כלשהו, and if there's a little bit of it left, let's say it was a big dish, and the dog ate it, but there's a little bit left. He didn't lick the last one, you're still good. As long as there's something left, you're good. ואם שיהיה ממנו כלשהו, and if there's a little bit of it left around, סומך עליו לשבת. You can still rely on it for cooking a Shabbat. In other words, it's not even a meal, it's just something. It doesn't mean you can rely on it. הוא מבשל ביום טוב לצורך שבת. And then you're allowed to cook on יום טוב for Shabbos. בגמרא אמרו, in the Gemara says, שעירובי תבשילים צריכים כזית. What's the measurement? Measurement is eating, at least כזית. Like an olive. בין לאחד, בין למאה. Whether you're cooking for one person, whether you're cooking for 1,000,000 people. It doesn't matter, it's symbolic. It's a symbolic thing. ואף מה ששינינו במשנתנו, and also what we learned in our Mishnah, ואם שיהיה ממנו כלשהו, סומך עליו בשבת. We said, if anything remain from it, you can rely it on Shabbos. היינו דווקא שנשאר בו כזייס. It doesn't mean that you don't have כזייס. At least you have to have a measurement of an olive. ברטנורה, שמפירושו לא משמע כן, Bartenura disagrees, and he says, no, anything means anything, even less a kazais. So there's a whole debate. When it says anything, what does it mean? At least a kazais or not a kazais? Or anything.